Hello, dear students. How are you all? I hope you all are fine. You all are good at home and you all are doing your studies properly. So, dear students, we are studying the chapter 2 of economics, that is the sectors of Indian economy. And in that chapter, up till now, we have completed the part. In the last period, we have completed the discussion about organized and unorganized sector with the help of Kanta and Kamal's example. Okay, and the homework was also told on this. I hope you must have done this. Let's work this out box. Now let's move towards the another part of this chapter, that is how to protect workers in the unorganized sector. So dear students, as we all are knowing that in unorganized sector the employees are not getting that much benefits which they should get. They are not getting the facilities which the employees of organized sector are getting. So about that, some points are given in your textbook that we are going to discuss one by one. So dear students, see, the organized sector offers jobs that are most sought after, but the employment opportunities in the organized sector have been expanding very slowly. It is also common to find many organized sector enterprises in the unorganized sector. They adopt such strategies to evade taxes and refuse to follow laws that protect laborers. Okay. As a result, a large number of workers are forced to enter the unorganized sector jobs, which pay a very low salary. They are often exploited and not paid a fair wage. Their earnings are low and not regular. These jobs are not secure and have no other benefits. Yes. So, dear students, see what is said over here, that in some of the companies, we can take the example of the company. We will try to understand with the help of that. So if we are taking the example of a very big multinational company, so in that company, it is expected that the employer should follow labor laws, the laws laid down for the workers, what kind of working conditions they should have, what kind of facilities they should get. Related to that, some laws they have to follow. But unfortunately, some of the organizations are not following this kind of laws, and due to that the people, the employees, workers are shifting from organized sector to unorganized sector indirectly. This is what this paragraph is telling to us about this. Okay, means comparatively they are paying the low salary, comparatively they are not giving the facilities which they should give. Okay, now see the next part. Since the 1990s, it is also common to see a large number of workers losing their jobs in the organized sector. These workers are forced to take up jobs in the unorganized sector with low earnings. Hence, besides the need for more work, there is also a need for protection and support for the workers in the unorganized sector. यस, सो ऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में अगर जॉब पहले था तो बहुत से बार कंपनी क्लोज डाउन हो जाती है. अगर कोई पर्टिकुलर गवर्नमेंट के डिपार्टमेंट की अगर हम बात करेंगे तो कोई डिपार्टमेंट का वर्क कंप्लीटली कम हो गया या उसमें कुछ कठिनाई अगर आती है, अगर वो क्लोज डाउन हो गया, तो फिर वहाँ के जो वर्कर्स हैं उनको अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में इनडायरेक्टली जाना पड़ता है. और उनको जो सैलरी पहले मिलती थी इसके कंपैरिजन में ये अभी की जो सैलरी उनको मिलती है बहुत कम मिलती है. मीन्स इनडायरेक्टली हियर दे आर सेइंग दैट many of the time, due to the close down of the factories, the industries, they have to move from the organized to unorganized sector, and that's the reason we should protect the unorganized sector. Government should do something to protect the unorganized sector people. Now who are coming mostly under unorganized sector, that we are going to see. Who are these vulnerable people who need protection? In the rural areas, the unorganized sector mostly comprises of landless agricultural laborers, small and marginal farmers, okay, sharecroppers and artisans such as weavers, blacksmiths, carpenters and goldsmiths. So these are the people, those who are coming under the unorganized sector mostly when we talk about the rural areas. Those who are landless agricultural laborers doing the small work over there, small articles makers. So these all are coming under unorganized sector in the rural areas. When we take an example of the rural areas, nearly 80% of the rural households in India are in small and marginalized farmer category. These farmers need to be supported through adequate facility for timely delivery of seeds, agricultural inputs, credit, storage facilities and marketing outlets. So here they are saying that 80% of the rural households in India are in small and marginal farmer category. मतलब 80% जो लोग हैं, अगर हम बात करेंगे रूरल एरिया की, तो वो स्मॉल फार्मर्स है, मार्जिनल फार्मर्स है, मतलब जिनके पास ज़्यादा बड़ी ज़मीन नहीं है, सो उनको कुछ अलग काम करना पड़ सकता है. तो गवर्नमेंट ने क्या करना चाहिए उनके लिए? गवर्नमेंट शुड प्रोवाइड देम द delivery of seeds on time, agriculture inputs, some facilities government should give to them. Okay, and the low rate, the credit should be given to them in the low rate, storage facilities should be given for the crops. Okay, and marketing outlets, yes, so the whatever the production will be there from their farm, they should get the facility for the marketing of that. There should be the market to purchase all these things in a fair price. Okay, so these are all the things government should do, and actually government is doing that. Okay, government is trying to give the loan in the layer, we can say the government is trying to give loan in very low rate of interest, and government sometimes giving them some other facilities also. It depends on what kind of how much land they have. Okay, how many acres of land they have, it depends on that, on the quantity of the farm. Okay, so government is trying to do that. Now see, when we talk about the urban areas, so in the urban areas, unorganized sector comprises mainly of workers in small scale industry, casual workers in construction, trade and transport, etc. And those who work as street vendors, head load workers, garment makers, रैक पिकर्स एक्सेट्रा. ओके, सो जो भी है, अगर हम बात करेंगे अर्बन सेंटर की, तो यहाँ पे छोटे मोटे काम करने वाले जो सभी लोग हैं वो इसमें आते हैं अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में. कंस्ट्रक्शन साइट पे काम करने वाले लोग अगर होंगे, उसी के साथ में ट्रांसपोर्ट बिजनेस में काम करने वाले लोग अगर होंगे, ट्रेडिंग करने वाले लोग अगर होंगे, है ना, तो ये सब स्ट्रीट वेंडर्स जो है, रास्ते पे बैठ के सेलिंग करने वाले, ये सभी जो है कपड़े बनाने वाले, ये सभी जो है इसमें आते हैं अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में, बिकॉज दे आर नॉट हैविंग द फैसिलिटीज लाइक द पीपल विच दे आर गेटिंग इन द ऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर. You all are knowing what are the features of organized and unorganized sector because you have seen in the last video. Okay, so they are coming under this, so government should give them some protection. Okay, small scale industry also needs government support for procuring raw material and marketing of output. The casual workers in both rural and urban areas need to be protected. So these casual workers need to be protected. Government should do something for that. And yes, government is trying to give them some facilities, so government should really do something for that, so that they should not face any kind of difficulty. We also find that majority of workers from scheduled caste, tribes and backward communities find themselves in the unorganized sector. अगर हम बात करेंगे तो मोस्टली हमको ये देखने को मिलता है कि शेड्यूल कास्ट के जो लोग हैं, ट्राइबल कम्युनिटी के जो लोग हैं, है ना, वो इसमें पाए जाते हैं. बैकवर्ड कम्युनिटी में की जो लोग हैं वो पर्टिकुलरली अनऑर्गेनाइज सेक्टर में देखे जाते हैं. तो इसकी वजह से क्या होता है, इनकी तो लो इनकम होती है, इसलिए उनका सोशल स्टेटस उतना नहीं होता, उनका स्टेटस उतना नहीं होता, लेकिन उसी के साथ में सोशल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन भी ये लोग फेस करते हैं. So that's the reason government should give focus on them. Government should give them some facilities. Economic and social development of their should not get stopped. For that purpose, government should do something. So that is what it is given over here. We also find that majority of workers from scheduled caste, tribes and backward communities find themselves in the unorganized sector. Besides getting the irregular and low paid work, these workers also face social discrimination. Protection and support to the unorganized sector workers is thus necessary for both economic and social development. Okay, so for their economic and social development, they should be protected by the government, and government should give them support. As the people, those who are there in that category, those who are working under unorganized sector, in that the people of scheduled caste, tribes and backward communities are mostly involved. For that purpose, it is very essential that government should take care of them. Okay, see here what is written: when factories close down, many ones regular workers are found selling goods or pushing a cart or doing some other odd job. Yes, so already I have given you the example. When the factories close down, so the people, those who were getting the facilities, regular income and all these things, they are not getting that now after the closing of the factories. Okay, so that's the reason something should be done for them by the government. It is expectation from the government. So this is what is given in this heading: how to protect workers in the unorganized sector. In this part, we have seen who are actually coming under unorganized sector. What are the reasons that people are coming under unorganized sector? Okay, and why mostly people are engaged in unorganized sector, who are from rural areas working in unorganized sector, and who are from urban areas working in unorganized sector. That part we have completed, that we have seen in this part. But what I feel is that the actual reason may be behind the people are working in unorganized sector. There may be the reason that they are not having the skills, they are having the less skills sometimes. I'm not saying 100% this may be the reason, but this may be also one of the reason which are reasons which are mentioned in the textbook. Out of that, one of the reason this may be also there, that they are not that much they are not having that much skill based education, and that's the reason they are engaged in the odd jobs, or we can say casual work. Okay, so that may be one of the reason, but these all the reasons are also very most important which are given in the textbook. And really it happens that sometimes the factory owners intentionally they are asking some employees to leave the job. Okay, sometimes they are saying 2 years probation period is there, after 2 years you will be the permanent employee of our company. When we talk about the private sector of our company, you will be the permanent employee after 2 years. And many of the times these factory owners, what they do, they, before the period of 2 years get finished, they are asking people to quit the job, and they are saying, no, no, you are not doing work properly, and you will not be getting the good facilities because your work is not good and all. So, and again that worker will be going in new company, and in that new company also he has to work for 2 years for probation and all that. So this is also happening nowadays practically in the private sector, I can say, related to the unorganized sector's job. Okay, so I hope this concept is clear to you all, how to protect workers in the unorganized sector. So dear students, after that there is a box given, let's recall. So whatever the part we have studied in this chapter up till now, from the beginning we have seen the three different sectors: primary, secondary, tertiary. We have also seen the interdependence of the sector. We have seen the concept of GDP, how to calculate the GDP, why the calculation of GDP is very most important. That also we have seen. We have seen what is organized sector, what is unorganized sector, and what government should do for the protection of these sector. So dear students, see that this box is given over here, you have to complete it. This is your activity, you have to complete, you have to read the textbook. See, when they have done their primary, secondary, tertiary criteria use, what criteria is used for the classification of sectors into the primary, secondary and tertiary. So that is what is given here. The criteria used is nature of activity. And what is the most important conclusion from this? Then what problems indicated and how they can be tackled. So this box you have to fill up with pencil in your textbook. And if you have difficulty in filling up this box or anything, you can ask through NTAP to teachers. Okay. So this is what an activity is. Now let's move towards the next part of this chapter, and that is the sectors in terms of ownership, public and private sector. So right now we have seen organized and unorganized. In organized sector, people are getting the regular income, they are getting the medical allowances, they are getting various facilities, paid leaves they are getting, PF benefit they are getting the appointment letter which is telling details of their working. Whereas in unorganized sector, all these things people are not getting, that we have seen. Now let's see about public and private sectors. Many of the time you must have seen in various advertisements, means after the names of the company, sometimes it is LTD written. For example, we can say Reliance India Limited, LTD is written. Only limited is used, it means that company is public sector company, public limited company. And if private limited is there, then PRI, private, that initial is used, and then LTD. Okay, so we'll see now in details what are the public sector companies and what are the private sector companies. That details we will be we'll be seeing now. Okay, so dear students, I hope you all are getting with the help of textbook view. Intentionally we are making this video in textbook view, so that your textbook related concepts will also get clear, means word to word reading we can do. Now see, let's start public and private sectors. Another way of classifying economic activities into sectors could be on the basis of who owns assets and is responsible for the delivery of services. Okay, so the another way of classification is who owns the asset. इसका ओनर कौन है, ओनर के हिसाब से जो क्लासिफिकेशन किया गया, हु ओन्स द असेट. ओके, अनदर वे ऑफ क्लासिफिकेशन ऑफ इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज इज into sectors could be on the basis of owners, who owns assets. According to that, in the public sector, the government owns most of the assets and provides all the services. पब्लिक सेक्टर अगर है ऐसा हम बोलते हैं, तो मोस्ट ऑफ द असेट्स का ओनर कौन होता है, द ओनर ऑफ द मोस्ट ऑफ द असेट्स विल बी गवर्नमेंट. द गवर्नमेंट ओन्स मोस्ट ऑफ द असेट्स एंड प्रोवाइड्स ऑल द सर्विसेज. In the private sector, ownership of assets and delivery of services is in the hands of private individual or companies. प्राइवेट सेक्टर की प्योरली अगर हम बात करते हैं तो गवर्नमेंट का इंटरफेयर वहाँ पे नहीं आएगा. वहाँ पे जो भी कोई ओनर होगा प्राइवेट कंपनी का, उसके डिसीजंस वहाँ पे चलेंगे. वेर एज वेन वी टॉक अबाउट द पब्लिक सेक्टर, इट्स ओनरशिप विल बी in the hands of the government. Yes, so individuals or company. Railways or post office is an example of public sector, whereas companies like Tata Iron and Steel Company Limited, Tisco or Reliance Industries Limited are privately owned. So if we talk about the on the basis of the ownership, so the railways, Indian Railway, post office is an example of public sector because there is the ownership of Indian government of these railways or post offices. When we see the Tata Iron and Steel Company, Reliance Industry, so these are owned by the private authorities. These are owned by the private authorities, but that are the companies which are open for public also. Why? Because they are accepting the shares from the public. Okay, they are dividing the shares of their capital. Capital, you all are knowing that capital means money invested in the business is called as the capital. So what these big companies are doing, for fulfilling their capital needs, they are dividing the capital into small shares and they are distributing those shares to the public. They are accepting the fund from the public in the forms of the shares. Okay, and that's why LTD also is written after their name. So ownership is of the private body, so private sector. Ownership is of the government body, then public sector. I hope this is clear to you all. It is very easy. Now see, activities in the private sector are guided by the motive to earn profits. When we talk about the private sector, its motive is to earn the profit. Whatever the activities we are doing in the private sector, it is for earning profit. Obviously, प्राइवेट सेक्टर की अगर हम बात करते हैं तो उनका मेन मोटो होता है प्रॉफिट को अर्न करना. गेटिंग द प्रॉफिट, अर्निंग द प्रॉफिट इज देयर मेन मोटो. ओके, टू गेट सच सर्विसेज वी हैव टू पे मनी to these individuals and companies. The purpose of the public sector is not just to earn profits. Government raise money through taxes, other ways to meet expenses on the services rendered by it. Modern day government spend on a whole range of activities. What are these activities? Why do government spend on such activities? Let's find out. See, they are saying that government, अगर हम पब्लिक सेक्टर की बात करेंगे तो पब्लिक सेक्टर में ऐसा नहीं कि उसके पैसे नहीं भरने पड़ते, लेकिन उद्देश्य जो है वो सिर्फ पैसे कमाना नहीं होता है, तो लोगों को एम्प्लॉयमेंट जनरेट करना, ये गवर्नमेंट का उद्देश्य होता है पब्लिक सेक्टर की अगर हम बात करेंगे तो. और गवर्नमेंट को टैक्सेस वगैरह अदर फंड से, अदर सोर्सेज से पैसा जो है गवर्नमेंट को वो मिलता है, इसलिए गवर्नमेंट उसको वेराइटी ऑफ एक्टिविटीज़ में पैसों को लगाती है ताकि कंट्री का इकोनॉमिक डेवलपमेंट गवर्नमेंट कर सके. ओके, सो व्हाट द मॉडर्न डेज गवर्नमेंट इज डूइंग फॉर दिस एक्टिविटीज दैट वी विल सी. There are several things needed by the society as a whole, but which the private sector will not provide at a reasonable cost. Why? Some of these need spending large sums of money, which is beyond the capacity of private sector. Also, collecting money from thousands of people who use this facility is not easy. Even if they do provide these things, they would charge a high rate for their service or their use. Examples are construction of road, bridges, railways, harbors, generating electricity, providing irrigation through dams, etc. Thus, governments have to undertake such heavy spending and ensure that these facilities are available for all. सो आपको इस एग्जाम्पल पे से क्लियर हुआ होगा कि गवर्नमेंट का इनिशिएटिव क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है, क्योंकि कुछ सर्विसेज है जिसके अंदर प्राइवेट सेक्टर भी पैसा नहीं लगा सकता है। आई बात ध्यान में, जो कंट्री के ग्रोथ के लिए इंपॉर्टेंट है, तो ऐसी कोई सर्विसेज जो ऐसी कोई चीज़ें जो है उसमें गवर्नमेंट पैसा इन्वेस्ट करती है और गवर्नमेंट की कैपेसिटी होती है कि लोगों के पास से उससे रिलेटेड पैसा निकालने की। आई बात ध्यान में, यहाँ पे एग्जाम्पल दिया है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेशन का, रेलवे का एग्जाम्पल दिया है, ब्रिजेस बनाने का एग्जाम्पल दिया है, रोड कंस्ट्रक्शन का एग्जाम्पल दिया है, हार्बर्स मेकिंग का एग्जाम्पल दिया हुआ है, डैम्स बनाने का एग्जाम्पल दिया हुआ है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी जनरेशन का, रेलवेज का एग्जाम्पल। सो ये सब चीज़ें जो है गवर्नमेंट ने बड़े बड़े जो ये सेक्टर्स है गवर्नमेंट ने खुद के हाथ में रखे हैं, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट को पता है कि कोई एक पर्टिकुलर प्राइवेट कंपनी इतना सब वर्क नहीं कर पाएंगी। हाँ, अगर कोई कंपनी कर भी ले उतना वर्क तो वो कंपनी हाई रेट चार्ज करेंगी लोगों से, जो कि हर एक व्यक्ति के लिए पॉसिबल नहीं होगा अफोर्ड करना इतने सारे पैसे। That's the reason government is keeping some of the sectors in its hand, and we can say there is a monopoly of government in that sector. Okay, and due to that government is trying to provide these services to all. Government is ensuring that government is trying to see that all these services should get available for each and every person in the country. Getting or not? So what are the examples? Roads, bridges, railways, harbors, generating electricity, providing irrigation, dams, etc. These are the examples of that. Okay, I hope this is clear to you all. Now let's see. There are some activities which the government has to support. The private sector may not continue their production or business unless government encourages it. For example, selling electricity at the cost of generation may push up the cost of production of goods in many industries. Many units, especially small scale units, might have to shut down. Government here steps in by producing and supplying electricity at rates which these industries can afford. Government has to bear part of the cost. Yes. क्या बताने की कोशिश की इस पैराग्राफ में, बहुत ही अच्छी बात बताई हुई है, ध्यान दीजिएगा सब लोग। There are some activities विच द गवर्नमेंट हैज टू सपोर्ट। कुछ ऐसी एक्टिविटीज है जिसको गवर्नमेंट को सपोर्ट करना पड़ता है। गवर्नमेंट उसमें ये नहीं देखती है कि गवर्नमेंट का प्रॉफिट हो रहा है कि नहीं हो रहा है, कुछ कॉस्ट जो है गवर्नमेंट को भी बेयर करनी पड़ती है। यहाँ पे उन्होंने एग्जांपल दिया हुआ है कि इलेक्ट्रिसिटी गवर्नमेंट बनाती है, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी बेचती है, तो कुछ अगर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का रेट बहुत हाई रख दिया गवर्नमेंट ने, सबके लिए सेम रख दिया, तो कुछ स्मॉल स्मॉल प्रोडक्शन हाउसेज जो है, अब प्रोडक्शन की अगर बात चल रही है तो प्रोडक्शन के लिए हमको इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लगने वाली है। गेटिंग और नॉट? सो स्मॉल स्केल यूनिट जो है तो वो तो बंद हो जाएंगे, क्योंकि इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की कॉस्ट अगर ज़्यादा हो जाएंगी तो प्रोडक्शन की कॉस्ट बहुत बढ़ जाएंगी, और प्रोडक्शन की कॉस्ट अगर बढ़ जाएंगी और उनका उतना सेलिंग अगर नहीं होगा तो स्मॉल स्केल सेक्टर्स में जो प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है वो नहीं होगा, और स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री क्या हो जाएगी? बंद हो जाएगी। और ऑब्वियसली स्मॉल स्केल इंडस्ट्री अगर बंद हो जाती है तो वहाँ पे का एम्प्लॉयमेंट कम हो जाएगा। तो इसके लिए गवर्नमेंट क्या करती है, ऐसे छोटे इंडस्ट्रीज को कम रेट में इलेक्ट्रिसिटी प्रोवाइड करती है एट द कॉस्ट ऑफ प्रोडक्शन। जितने पैसे में प्रोडक्शन हो रहा है इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का उतने पैसे में गवर्नमेंट उनको दे देती है, और जो लॉस भी अगर होता है उसमें तो गवर्नमेंट खुद बेयर करती है ऊपर के पैसे। गेटिंग और नॉट? सो दैट्स द रीजन गवर्नमेंट इज favoring for the growth of private sector also indirectly, because small scale industry coming under the private. Okay, so government is supporting to that because government's motive is for employment generation. Okay, I hope this is clear to you all. Similarly, the government in India buys wheat and rice from farmers at fair price. This it stores in its godowns and sells at a lower price to consumers through ration shops. You have read about this in the chapter on food security in class 9th. Yes, 9th स्टैंडर्ड में इकोनॉमिक्स में फूड सिक्योरिटी में हमने देखा है कि जिस तरीके से ऊपर इलेक्ट्रिसिटी का एग्जांपल दिया उसी तरीके से गवर्नमेंट जो है वीट और राइस खरीदती है फार्मर्स से फेयर प्राइस में, एक प्री डिसाइडेड प्राइस होती है, व्हाट आर फेयर प्राइस दैट वी हैव सीन वी हैव सीन इन द 9th स्टैंडर्ड। फेयर प्राइस मतलब एक प्री डिसाइडेड प्राइस गवर्नमेंट अनाउंस करती है, उसमें खरीदती है वो सब चीज़ें, और वो गवर्नमेंट राशन शॉप्स में कम पैसे में लोगों को देती है जिनको उसकी ज़रूरत है। वेर एज गवर्नमेंट खरीदते वक्त शायद गवर्नमेंट को ज़्यादा पैसे देने पड़े होंगे, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट कम पैसे में देती है बिकॉज टू फुलफिल द फूड रिलेटेड नीड ऑफ द कंट्री। Okay, that we have seen in standard 9 in food security chapter of economics. Now let's move towards the next. The government has to bear some of the cost. In this way the government supports both farmers and consumers. गवर्नमेंट को कॉस्ट बेयर करनी पड़ती है और इस तरीके से गवर्नमेंट फार्मर्स और कंज्यूमर्स को सपोर्ट करती है। देयर आर अ लार्ज नंबर ऑफ एक्टिविटीज विच आर द प्राइमरी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट। द गवर्नमेंट मस्ट स्पेंड ऑन दिस। सो ऐसी बहुत सारी एक्टिविटीज है विच इज़ द नीड ऑफ द विच इज़ द रिक्वायरमेंट ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, विच इज़ द need of the country and which is required to be fulfilled by the government. It is a responsibility of government. Providing health and education facilitates for all is one example. Okay, so providing health and education facilities. Health education facility government ने provide करनी चाहिए। We have discussed some of these issues in the first chapter. Already पहले chapter में हमने discuss किया हुआ है किस तरीके से ये सब चीज़ें important है। Running proper schools and providing quality education, particularly elementary education, is the duty of government. India's size of illiterate population is one of the largest in the world. When we talk about India's size of the illiterate population, it is largest. So government should provide a good education to the children. Government try to do that. Various government schools are there. You all are knowing that. Proper schools should be run by the government. Similarly, we know that nearly half of India's children are malnourished and a quarter of them are critically ill. We have read about infant mortality rates. The infant mortality rate of Odisha 53 or Madhya Pradesh 56 is higher than some of the poorest regions of the world. Yes, when we talk about the poorest regions of the world, still the infant mortality rate of Odisha and Madhya Pradesh of India, these states of India is more. You all are knowing what is infant mortality rate. So that's why it is very essential that health care facility should be provided by the government. Okay, we have seen about the infant mortality rate in the earlier chapters. Okay, so government also needs to pay attention to aspects of human development such as availability of safe drinking water, housing facilities for the poor, and food and nutrition. It is also the duty of the government to take care of the poorest and most ignored regions of the country through increased spending in such areas. So जो इग्नोर किया हुआ रीजन है कंट्री का, मतलब जिसको बोलेंगे जो पुअर रीजन है कंट्री का, जहाँ पे फूड रिलेटेड शॉर्टेजेस है, एजुकेशन जहाँ पे नहीं है, वहाँ पे गवर्नमेंट ने फोकस देना चाहिए। हेल्थ फैसिलिटीज़ गवर्नमेंट ने वहाँ पे देनी चाहिए ताकि वहाँ पे इन्फेंट मोर्टेलिटी रेट जो है, छोटे बच्चों के बर्थ के पहले, मतलब छोटे बच्चों के जो डिसीजेस से रिलेटेड डेथ उनकी होती है, वो जो रेट है, इन्फेंट्स की जो डेथ होती है ना, तो वो कम होनी चाहिए, उसके लिए भी गवर्नमेंट ने ध्यान देना चाहिए. So that's the reason government have to invest in that. So basically what we are discussing in this part, private and public sector, we have seen that private sector, the ownership is in the private hand, and when we talk about the public sector, the ownership is in the hands of the government. Mostly the government owns that sector. And why the government owns, why the major sectors like electricity, railways having the monopoly of government, it is just government have to give that services to the people of the country, and not a private company will give in that much low cost which government can give to the people for their benefit, and that's why that are in the hands of the government. Okay, that part we have seen. So here your chapter sectors of Indian economy is completed, dear students. Okay, we will see summing up of the chapter. Okay, तो इस चैप्टर में हमने क्या क्या देखा है अभी तक के. इस चैप्टर में हमने देखा है कि सेक्टर्स कैसे डिवाइड किए गए हैं, जीडीपी क्या है, उसका कैलकुलेशन क्यों इंपॉर्टेंट है. इन दिस चैप्टर वी हैव लुक्ड एट वेज ऑफ क्लासिफाइंग इकोनॉमिक एक्टिविटीज इनटू सम मीनिंगफुल ग्रुप्स. वन वे ऑफ डूइंग दिस इज टू एग्जामाइन वेदर द एक्टिविटीज रिलेट्स टू प्राइमरी, सेकेंडरी और टर्शियरी सेक्टर. ये हमने देखा. द the data for India for the last 30 years shows that while goods and services produced in the tertiary sector contribute the most to GDP, the employment remains in the primary sector. ये भी हमने देखा कि अगर हम GDP के कंट्रीब्यूशन की बात करेंगे तो टर्शियरी सेक्टर का कंट्रीब्यूशन जीडीपी में ज़्यादा है, लेकिन एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटी प्राइमरी सेक्टर में ज़्यादा है. मतलब एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटी बोलने से अच्छा ज़्यादा लोग प्राइमरी सेक्टर में काम कर रहे हैं, तो कंट्रीब्यूशन जीडीपी में टर्शियरी का ज़्यादा है, लेकिन एम्प्लॉयमेंट ज़्यादा प्राइमरी में है. ये भी हमने देखा. वी हैव ऑल्सो सीन व्हाट ऑल कैन बी डन फॉर इंक्रीजिंग एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज इन द कंट्री. एम्प्लॉयमेंट अपॉर्चुनिटीज बढ़ाने के लिए हमने क्या करना चाहिए वो हमने देखा. नेशनल रूरल एम्प्लॉयमेंट गारंटी एक्ट के बारे में भी हमने देखा. Another classification is to consider whether people are working in organized or unorganized sector. Organized unorganized sector का classification वो हमने देखा. Most people are working in the unorganized sectors and protection is necessary for them. Why that should be protected, that even we have seen. We also looked at the difference between private and public activities and why it is important for public activities to focus on certain areas. ये भी हमने देखा है कि क्यों कुछ बड़े बड़े चीज़ें जो है कंट्री में की, जैसे इलेक्ट्रिसिटी हो गई और रेलवेज हो गया, ये गवर्नमेंट ने अपने हाथ में रखना क्यों ज़रूरी है वो हमने देखा. और प्राइवेट सेक्टर और पब्लिक सेक्टर में क्या डिफरेंस है वो भी हमने देखा. सो हियर आवर चैप्टर सेक्टर्स ऑफ इंडियन इकोनॉमी is completed. I hope you must have seen the earlier videos of this chapter. Then and then only you will get a link between the topics. So exercise questions are given over here. We are going to send the PDF copy explaining all the answers of these exercise questions. You all are requested to read that PDF. Okay, here fill in the blanks are given, choose the correct options are given, match the pairs are given, find the odd one out is also given, and this box is given for completion. Along with that, some personal response type questions are also available, are given over here. So dear students, you all are knowing that according to the new pattern 20 marks questions are coming objective. Your 9th standard paper even you gave on this pattern only 20 marks objective in 80 marks paper. So in that objective such kind of questions can come which are given here. Blanks, choose the correct option and all, match the pairs and all. Okay, so students, you have to solve this. PDF will be given, you have to read that. And one my request is to you all that अगर कोई PDF भेजी जाती है तो आप सिर्फ उसको वैसे का वैसा बुक में कॉपी अगर करते होंगे तो वो बहुत गलत है. You have to read the question. You have to try to understand what is asked in the question. Then you will have to read the answer and you have to understand the answer and then you can write in the notebook. सिर्फ कॉपी पेस्ट अगर आप नोटबुक में कर रहे हो बेटा, so that is not of any use. आपको समझना पड़ेगा क्वेश्चन में पूछा क्या है और उसमें हमको आंसर लिखना क्या है और उसके हिसाब से आपको आंसर जो है वो लिखना है. सिर्फ कॉपी पेस्ट नहीं करना है. कुछ तो भी नोटबुक कंप्लीट करनी इसके लिए कर रहे हो तो वो कुछ फ़ायदा नहीं बेटा उस बात का. आप लोगों को पढ़ना पड़ेगा, समझ के लेना पड़ेगा आंसर में क्या क्वेश्चन में क्या पूछा है, आंसर में क्या लिखना है अपने को, वो देख के फिर आप आंसर लिखिए. मैं तो ये बोलता हूँ कि चैप्टर को अच्छे से पढ़ लीजिए, चैप्टर के इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट्स के नोट्स को रेडी करके उसको लर्न कर लीजिए और हो सके तो आंसर्स लिखते वक्त अपने मन से लिखिए ताकि फिर क्या हो जाएगा, आपको हैबिट हो जाएगी आंसर्स लिखने की और आपका लर्निंग हो जाएगा. इनडायरेक्टली एक टेस्ट आपकी हो जाएगी नोटबुक कंप्लीट करते करते. आई बात ध्यान में. अगर आप बगैर PDF में देख के नोटबुक कंप्लीट करते हो, आंसर डायरेक्ट प्रॉपर लिखते हो पॉइंट वाइज पहले स्टडी कर लेके, तो एक इनडायरेक्टली आपकी टेस्ट हो जाएंगी, वो अलग से टेस्ट देने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेंगी आपको. समझ में आ रहा है ना आपको मैं क्या बोल रहा हूँ? तो आई होप इट इज क्लियर टू यू ऑल. So very easy questions are there in descriptive questions. If you'll see, do you think the classification of economic activities like primary, secondary and tertiary is useful? ये यूज़फुल है क्या? आपको लगता है क्या क्लासिफिकेशन यूज़फुल है? आपको आपके व्यूज़ बताने हैं वहाँ पे. बाद में फॉर ईच ऑफ द सेक्टर्स दैट वी केम अक्रॉस इन दिस चैप्टर, व्हाई शुड वन फोकस ऑन एम्प्लॉयमेंट एंड GDP? कुड देयर बी अदर इशू विच शुड बी एग्जामाइंड? हमने GDP और एम्प्लॉयमेंट के ऊपर फोकस क्यों करना चाहिए और कोई चीज़ें क्या उस पर हमने फोकस करना चाहिए क्या? टर्शियरी सेक्टर इंपॉर्टेंट क्यों है? तो बहुत अच्छे इंपॉर्टेंट क्वेश्चंस इस चैप्टर से इस एक्सरसाइज में ही दिए हुए हैं जो कि बोर्ड एग्जाम्स में बहुत बार आ चुके हैं एक्सरसाइज में कई क्वेश्चंस. तो इसकी एक प्रॉपर PDF आपको भेजी जाएंगी जिसमें प्रॉपर इसके पॉइंट्स के आंसर्स दिए हुए हैं. उसमें अगर आपको कोई डिफ़िकल्टी है तो आप पर्सनली पूछिएगा, वो डिफ़िकल्टी आपकी क्लियर हो जाएगी। और भी अगर कोई पॉइंट अगर आपका क्लियर नहीं होगा तो आप पुरानी वीडियोस देख सकते हो, एनटैप पे उसकी लिंक्स अवेलेबल है। पहले की वीडियोस आप देखो और उसको पॉइंट्स को क्लियर करने की कोशिश करो। टेक्स्ट बुक अच्छे से रीड करो, टेक्स्ट बुक रीडिंग बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है आंसर्स लिखने के लिए। सो हियर वी आर एंडिंग दिस चैप्टर, द वीडियो ऑफ दिस चैप्टर वी आर गोइंग टू एंड नाउ। Okay, I hope everything which is explained in different videos of this chapter is clear to you all. So you have to write the answers in your notebook. You have to underline the important points in textbook. You have to frame your own notes if you can, and you have to read the textbook again and again. And whatever the chapters of social science we are completing, you have to complete the learning of that also. Don't keep anything pending. If you have any difficulty, kindly ask to teachers through NTAP. Okay, and if you are not able to contact through NTAP properly, so and if it is too urgent to get it solved, you can talk to teacher, to your teachers, talk with your teachers by their WhatsApp number also. Okay, so I hope all the things are clear to you all. Now we'll see the another chapter from another title in the next video. Okay, thank you dear students, thanks a lot.